Beanalog with Beanalog.
Welcome everyone. This is Luisa. We're starting the first podcast of Barry and John-Luc Thomas, aka
Hi.
Juan Lucas Tomas. JLT.
Yeah, Juan Lucas Tomas is my Mexican name, and Jean-Luc Thomas is my normal Frenchican name.
We have let's all introduce ourselves. So again, this is Luisa, and we have
Leonardo. I probably should have gone with my artist name. Maggie J. Perez, aka the Macron.
He's a behind the scenes
What's up?
guy. He's like fantastic. He knows how to do it.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
He is.
People, I'm saying I'm cool.
It's the facts.
And no more words. That's it. And then we got
Hello. Ray. Mend.
We can edit it in post. It's fine. Hey, I love how everybody doesn't know exactly what the visuals are right now, but we have like a microphone like duct taped to a microphone stand right now because we didn't have another clip.
It's Bert Effect's fault.
So one of the reasons I was like interested in trying to do this type of thing was because like we have so many good conversations in our regular messenger chats, and we just talk about synthesizers and gear and all kinds of stuff and other escapades that we're having in the audio world. And I just think it's worth something to... Oh, sorry.
Barry didn't introduce himself.
Oh, yeah. I'm Barry
That's Barry.
Anderson.
Barry Anderson.
OX
So like a Matrix-
IX52
Have you seen The Matrix?
on Instagram and YouTube.
Oh, that's right. I also have an Instagram.
Oh, and
YouTube.
Bandcamp if you want to buy some tunes.
You know what? These are dangerous. I need to stop clicking these.
Okay.
So, we've gathered here today to talk of gear and cool things.
All things synthesizer.
All things synthesizer and audio and production, and specifically pertaining to our own personal interests, which mine personally, I am a keyboardist for about 20 years now, almost, coming up to August. So, like, that's something. We're all getting older every single day. So, yeah. Luisa, what do you do? What kind of things do you?
Hi again. I do a little bit of everything. I want to think that I'm mainly a producer because I'm constantly behind scenes doing one thing or another, not just on audio but on video, podcasting. I don't know, just managing stuff in general with the studios. And I'm a DJ, and I've been calling myself a musician lately because I'm on the road of learning everything about being a musician, and it's a hard job, and
So
here we are.
You're also the primary facilitator of Beanalog, which is a synthesizer meetup. Which is why we're all here, because that's how we all connected.
Beanalog is the home of all of these amazing people who make it possible. Beanalog is everybody in our synth community in El Paso, or beat making community. We have this once a month meeting where we are bringing our gear out to Amano Collective, which is located on 110 Poplar, if I'm not mistaken?
210.
210, my bad. 210.
That's a good catch.
We do this.
I wouldn't have remembered that. It's a really super cool event where you go in there and you're just surrounded. It's like entering the bridge on Star Trek, where just everything's beeping and blooping and there's lights everywhere. And just for that fact, it's awesome. But if you're really getting into the meat of it and you're trying to find something really cool to do as far as learning music and learning electronic music instruments and what they can provide to you creatively as an artist, there's not really a cooler place in El Paso, in my opinion, personally. But
on the next one, we're planning to do an ARP corner specific to ARP. So we'll have 2 ARP Odysseys and the ARP Avatar, and I'll have my 2600 there as well. So it's going to be very ARPy.
Okay, so I don't know when this podcast will come out, if ever, but
yeah, hopefully it'll be before that.
Yeah, hopefully it will be before.
That's
and
the
this
21st
what is it? Today
of
is,
July, right?
We don't even have a name. We don't even have a name.
I think we should just call it Beanalog Chat or something.
Beanalog with Beanalog.
Beanalog with Bean. Yeah, that's true. That's a nice.
We are analog.
We are
Beanalog.
But we like digital too.
That sounds like a protest.
We are digital.
So, okay, today is Wednesday, June 29th.
Yeah.
We're on the cusp of July, almost, and there's some upcoming events, including Beanalog, but also I was kind of like interested in going to see Kikimora at the zoo on the 2nd of July. They're going to be playing, and they use a lot of synthesizer stuff, and I love the sound that they get. They're super talented. It's like fusion jazz type stuff. So on Beanalog, was it the 21st?
July 21st.
July 21st.
Yeah. And we get there. We start setting up like around 6:30, and then by 7:10 we're already up and running.
Yeah.
We have free snacks. We have.
That'll bring people in.
Yeah, free snacks for all.
Also, if you hear like a large, like, expelling of gas from the upper end, a burp as they call it, like that will be because I am drinking a ton of root beer right now, and it's fantastic, but it has consequences.
Barry, you wanted to talk about what is it that you wanted to talk about in the podcast? Because the reason that we wanted to do this is because we wanted to share our experiences with audio and production and equipment. Okay, so would you like to start the conversation about what you're interested on right now at the moment?
What I'm interested right now at the moment? Well, I have lots of interests when it comes to synths and audio and stuff. What? You're not hearing it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to make a
Trying
microphone.
to make a microphone with headphones. That's pretty good. Is it working?
I think so. I'm not
Yeah, it
I'd
is
love
working.
to hear some of your perspective on ARP. And
That's a DJ
'cause
trick.
Since it's coming up, like, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, so last year was the 50th anniversary of the ARP 2600. That came out 1971. And that's the 50th anniversary last year. So this year is the 50th anniversary of the ARP Odyssey. And of course, the ones we have are the recreations from Korg. And there's also recreations from Behringer. And of course, there's the DIY kit that Justin is still working on, called the TTSH. There's a place in Spain called Antonis that makes an ARP 2600 clone that's really cool. I got their sequencer. It's called a Stepbrother, and it's really,
that's
really
the
cool.
one that goes with the ARP 2600.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
Like, if you could see a picture of Barry's studio, it's like a spectacular thing.
Yeah.
Like, anybody who's in the synthesizers at all would just be like, whoa.
It's messy, but it's cool.
Because it's to be able to play, and I had the pleasure of getting to try out Barry's 2600. It was really something special.
Yeah, and it'll be there on the 21st as well. So anybody can try it out.
Somebody's got to shred Frankenstein on it.
Yeah.
and that's
Strap it on.
and that's a beautiful thing about our meetup because everybody's sharing their equipment. Like everybody's getting their special piece of equipment to show it to everybody else.
Yeah.
So a lot of these pieces are very unique. Not everybody has these instruments,
And some of them are hand built.
and some of them are hand built. So it will be awesome if you guys could come and check it out.
It's also not just like fancy, expensive instruments. It's also you can try out the ones that are consumer models, Novation circuits and things like that. If you have any like ideas of like where you would want to like try certain like consumer model devices as well, I'm sure some of those things will be there in the next Beanalog as well. But yeah.
We take in just regular instruments too. We have people that just show up with their congas or their battery. ¿Cómo se llama? La batería.
Or anybody can just
Yeah.
show up without anything and play
Yeah.
with what's there.
Yes, for sure.
Come as
we
you
need,
are.
We need more players.
Because you will be accepted into the synthesizer community.
Definitely.
We're all weird here anyways, so it's fine.
We're super friendly.
Bunch of weirdos.
Just don't make fun of us.
don't make fun of us.
We're super friendly, and everybody is willing to what's it called? To teach you. So
Ask plenty of questions.
yes, yeah, and you know what? A lot of people don't really understand all of this what's it called? Synthesizer world. It's a little complicated, but the sounds that those machines make are very unique. And if you think about it, they're on anything. They're on commercials, they're on movies. Your favorite series like Stranger Things. Like all of those sounds are there, and they're made with these amazing machines.
They're
And-
essential for.
It's interesting that you bring up Stranger Things because the thing that's cool
New
about
season.
yeah the thing that's cool about that is that it's very obviously influenced by the time period that it portrays, the 80s, and the theme song is very John Carpenter.
yeah.
I mean, you look at listen to
he's
John
probably
Carpenter
one of my
stuff.
favorites, like,
Yeah, from way
seriously.
back then, it sounds very much like that. And I thought it was cool that I don't know if they've done it recently, but in like season 1, when you see some of the rooms that the kids at their house, I remember in one there was a poster of The Thing on the wall. So the John Carpenter thing was
I think
very
the
obvious.
whole of Stranger Things is really interesting because there's so many influences that you can pick out as you're watching it.
Yeah,
Like definitely Stephen King.
yeah.
You can like feel like the whole like kind of Maine vibe a little bit. Like I can feel that.
Well, it's very 80s because during the 80s, one theme that was very prominent in a lot of different shows was kids on bikes. And that's what Stranger
E.T.
Things is, kids on bikes.
Well, that's why I think everybody likes. It's been brought up before, and it's kind of like a topic of, I guess, contention. Would that be a correct word? The fact that it's literally like it's not really its own thing. Even it's like kind of just a mishmash of everything that people liked from the 80s. That's why it works, and I think that's why they should just continue to keep copying things because I love it. Like it's perfect.
But yeah, going back to the influences, that the theme is obviously analog, very, very analog synth. And you can hear it clearly just even in the first note. That's not a plug-in. You can tell that's real electricity running through those notes.
Have you seen the new season? Oh, not really.
I've seen the first 2 episodes, I think, because they're really long.
Yeah.
They're really
Well-
long.
Of the new one,
Yeah,
I've seen all. Wait, there's 4 seasons now, right?
yeah.
Okay. That shows how behind I am. But
Four
I've
seasons.
seen all of the first 3 seasons. The second one was kind of like a dud for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the third one brought it back and kind of got me into like the whole reason that the first one was really great. The third one was great because they just kind of like
Well-
got back to that.
You know who Kate Bush is?
Yeah.
okay, her song went to top.
Yeah.
Top
I'm so
40
happy
again.
for her.
Yeah, like a lot of.
I don't know her personally, but
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool because it is a cool thing because I mean this song is like, it at that time was top 2. Like a lot of these songs are coming back.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
good songs don't age. They are when they're good, when it's good music, it's gonna be present on everything. And then again, that electronic music field is so extensive.
who is the composer again? I'm sorry. Like, do you have that information?
For Stranger Things?
Stranger Things, yeah.
I can't remember, but I know it's a
It's like
band
two
from
guys, right?
Austin. Yeah, they're from Austin. I think they're from
That's
Austin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring
Yeah.
the iPad up. I'm gonna get it. You got it.
So it's not John Carpenter?
No.
No,
It's just influenced by
It's influenced by
Very
John
influenced
Carpenter.
by-
Yeah.
Interestingly enough,
Kyle
like,
Dixon and Michael Stein
Carl,
of the band Survive.
wonderful people.
Yeah.
Thank
They have
you.
good
They've
names,
blessed
so-
us with some amazing music. I actually own the original soundtrack of Stranger Things on vinyl,
Oh wow.
and I got that for
Dedicated.
Christmas for my family, and nobody wanted to listen to it, so it was just like, it's mine now.
Yeah.
Another thing, speaking of John Carpenter, it's so interesting how much he's influenced everybody. Like, and currently, right now, people are just like really,
Yeah.
really digging into that content. I recently watched Escape from New York. I love the soundtrack from that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can consider his music like a little bit like cheesy in some parts, I would say, but like he really gets the horror vibe down, because I think it surprises you. It's like I didn't expect to hear that sound.
Well,
when
it's
it came
it's
out.
it's simple in a lot of ways, because someone hired to do, like, if they hired Hans Zimmer or someone to do the soundtrack, it would be bigger and there would be more things going on. And the John Carpenter soundtracks they allow the viewer to focus and be drawn into the tension of the scene and not focusing so much on the music, because it's pretty much just a dum 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 dum. I mean, that just
I think they're articulated. Even though it's so simple, it's like articulated so well.
yeah.
And there's some other bands that are my personal favorites, actually, that are getting influences from Carpenter currently. I accidentally said Carpenter Brett because that's the band that is inspired by it. They're like a hard synth outfit, I guess. I think it's one guy who composes it, and then like he has a band with like a guitarist and drummer and stuff. And they do like these really like heavy slasher flick kind of like epic,
Yeah.
like headbanging kind of synthwave stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's currently like the genre that I try to categorize myself into, which has been kind of a challenge to do. Honestly, like the more that I put myself in a box like that, the harder it is to make the music that I was intending to do, because I'm like, I don't want to be defined, like I can't do that. Like,
Right.
so, like, what would you say, like your own personal music? Do you have like a genre that you like try to shoot for, Barry?
Not really. It's just whatever comes out, and sometimes it's really cool, and like the first songs that I did with, I'm in a band called Eldervolt with Airship Enoch, and the first couple of tunes we did started with me just playing with my synths and coming up with some interesting
Yeah.
things. And of course, I put a video on Instagram of this, and he saw it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we gotta make a song out of that." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it."
I really
So-
like the sound of the tracks that you've gotten out so far.
Thanks. Yeah, that sometimes comes out, and then sometimes it's just like something that I don't think is very good, and I don't record it. So it's just I don't put myself into any genre, just like a lot of people say. So I don't.
Is
I don't
there
know
a
if
lot
it'll
of DeepMind on his
be DeepMind
side of things?
on his side? Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the pads and things that he put in there is DeepMind, because he really likes that a lot.
I agree. I like that synth.
Yeah,
I just have
it's
not
great
had a
synth.
chance to sit down. One of the engineers at my church, Jesus Chapel, he has a deep mind, and I keep trying to like convince him, like, hey man, listen, I got some money, I'm gonna pay you, man. I gotta get some of that synth action, man. So
yeah.
it's like it's really important to me to like try out those sorts of things, and in El Paso,
It's hard.
it's a
to
very
do.
difficult
Yeah.
thing to find.
Yeah.
So I think essentially Beanalog is kind of an oasis in the desert where
Yeah.
we're all starved for synthesizers. We find a place to actually apply everything.
Yeah.
But as far as music creation, Barry, you make some really great stuff. And like, what about you, Louisa? What kind of things have you been?
She makes great stuff too.
I'm on a journey right now. So yeah, I think I'm well at this moment, like I said, I was just, I don't know, I've been doing a little bit of everything. I've been trying to be more of a composer because I was mentioning the other day that, you know, like I want to move to be a musician, you know, I wanna be recognized as a musician. That's what I want. And I've been working hard for that, and I've been studying and doing all my research, and it's like learning another language, that's for sure.
It's a hard thing
Yeah.
to learn music theory
So
if you haven't kind of gone down that path yet.
yeah.
Well, there are some, famous DJs that started out as just DJing, didn't know anything about music, and then decided, you know what, I can do this. Like Ray's favorite, Deadmauss.
Oh yes.
You know, he DJ'd first and decided, I'm going to do my own music.
Oh, you
And
like Deadmauss? I like Deadmauss too. Cool, dude. Let's talk about Deadmauss. Come on. Or Peter Gabriel.
So
He respectfully declined.
I was commenting the other day that I had showed some of my music to somebody, and then they were like, "Oh, you make beats, cute," and I was like, "Ugh." Oh well, my music might not sound as full as theirs, but I mean that doesn't mean that my music isn't complete like theirs. You know what I mean?
it happens to all of us.
Yeah?
I mean, did the lights dim? Oh,
They did.
They
They
did.
did dim.
yeah, because like even years later, people you don't see for 20 years, you see them again, and they're like, "You still doing that music thing?"
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh my
That's
God.
that's a thing, and like I think that's a pretty strong thing in Juarez culture as well, because like I have a friend his parents are just like they're not.
Oh, they
not
don't like
supportive.
musicians. No,
They're
they don't like.
Oh, what, you're following this thing called a dream? What is a dream, anyways? Like, get out of here.
Well,
Yeah.
people for sure want you to get a career. That's the first thing. Yeah, when you're gonna grow up and all
Well,
that stuff.
yeah.
But you know what? I think that when you stop dreaming, that's when you stop.
That's what's so interesting
Yeah, you know what I mean.
about music is that
Yeah.
it's not just
a dream.
what people say. You know what I mean? Like, it's certainly a huge business and a huge thing that's a large practice in order to learn how to like market. There's marketing, business strategies. I mean, and knowing how to wrangle yourself while still being yourself is an extremely hard thing to do. Like, it just takes a lot of time and effort to like try to do that. And I haven't nearly seen much success, but I'm trying, Sorry, the root beer's coming up.
So I was doing a lot of electronic, minimalism, and I say minimalism because I'm using a lot of like very simple sounds, and those get into this quirky way of stumbling to each other. That's the way I call it. Like it's quirky, strong music that it just takes you there, and then it goes down, rolling down. That I don't know. I just feel like it's like when you're falling. You stumble yourself and then you're falling. That's the way I describe the tracks that I made in the beginning of my what's it called? In the beginning of me being a music producer, but then later I transitioned to being a DJ. So being a DJ is a little different because I had to learn something new. and a lot of technique and a lot of styles, because I'm not just a techno or an electronic dance music DJ. I'm an open format DJ, so you also have to, if you're gonna be eclectic, you gotta be, what's it called? You gotta follow a style too. So, and I'm pretty sure that's the same thing with the bands, right? Or anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's where I was, and then we ran into the project of Ask a Freak, the DJ group, and then we started doing Beanalog, and I think Beanalog is the one that just fulfilled my little heart, and here we are, trying to push things and make things possible for everybody, so everybody can feel content.
Yeah. The sorry about the pen clicks, by the way. I keep like yeah, we're trying to create as much of a natural like environment to do discussions and it would be kind of cool if this sort of thing continues on, because maybe some people can't make it out to the Beanalogs, or maybe they don't exactly get to hang out with a lot of people, so it's always good to just be able to have a good conversation with people about anything, but mainly like audio stuff and like one particular thing that like I think we're kind of struggling with, all of us, I don't know, at least in some point of our music journey, is having pretty heavy creative blocks. And I know I've been having that because I've been through a little bit of craziness lately and kind of just been out of the flow, and I feel like I'm not getting into the excited vibe of my music, which is like synthwave stuff, right? So I'm not getting getting feedback from myself right now, so I'm like trying to seek ways of inspiring myself, or not kind of reaching out beyond certain genres and not limiting myself too much.
Well, that's one of the things that I like about modular synths. Modular synths are called such because they're made up of individual modules that you patch together with patch cables to create your sounds. But one interesting thing about it is that oftentimes while you're patching it, the modular synth will suggest things to you in a subtle way, or it'll do something
Sounds
a little.
Like there's some ghosts in the machine there.
Well, it feels that way when you're working with it, because things will not always do exactly what you're expecting it to, and something will happen. You go, oh, well, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. So you go head down that road because you weren't expecting that, and that's especially when you use like modules that specialize in noise and random voltages, because you start throwing some random around your patch, and pretty soon you're working with it to create music rather than dictating to it.
I think I agree with that, like, because when I hear modular, it ends up sounding like just really something I don't anticipate, and music is about surprises, and about when you're surprised like that, it's like it just breathes new life into you, and like it's a very emotional experience, so having the ability to just have that randomization and having those sorts of surprises are really beneficial.
Yeah, it is, but you do have to be careful, because it'll end up sounding like just bug music or
a car alarm.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the ones that are not familiar with modular synthesis, sometimes we have them at Beanalog. Well, most of the time we have them at Beanalog when we're doing the meetup, and you can see them. They look like complicated artifacts. They kind of are, but the way that I explain it to a lot of people is that it's like you're bending electricity yourself with your hands. and that electricity is making a sound, and then you start manipulating it with the knobs and the patches.
It's very Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you
Yes.
just like straight up like,
Yes.
I'm a circuit bender. Like,
For sure.
I bend circuits, you know.
Yeah, well, it can be as complex or as simple as you want. You can have just one module that you do all your sound with, and that's one of the cool things about it, is that you don't have to have a ton of stuff. In fact, you don't even have to spend money. If you have a computer, you can get VCV Rack for free and patch up that thing like crazy, because it's a computerized virtual version of the modular synth.
That. Where can they find that again? So they can check it out?
VCVrack.com.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can what's it called? Ask us in the comments. You know, we can answer you back as soon as we see the comment. And
Or come to Beanalog and ask.
yeah, you can join our group. We have a group. And
By the
I've
way,
been
it is in El Paso,
encouraging-
Texas. Like, just in case anybody doesn't know.
yeah. The
What's El Paso?
the group is Friends of Beanalog, and it's on Facebook. I'm always encouraging people to actually record themselves when they're doing something, because you don't know how important it is to be motivated. And when I see people working and doing things, I just like that pushes me to do things. You know, like that makes me feel like I need to be doing that stuff too. So for whoever is listening and you're already on the group, post your videos, share what you're doing. You know, like we will be more than happy to watch you. You know.
Yeah.
And not long ago we have our friend Jerry Nájera. He just released music. That was his first single, and on a what's it called? On a label. On a techno label. He's never had nothing like that done before, so that was his first single. And he's under the name Oxlos, Oxlos. So he released something, and that was you feel good because you see all these people doing things, and you
Yes.
so
Actually, his
definitely-
videos are
yeah, they're
really
pretty
good.
cool. Yeah.
I think they're like amongst it's amongst the kind of stuff that I would end up watching on my own time on YouTube, and I think that speaks for itself. Honestly, like he's like perfect to watch on YouTube.
One thing I noticed about him is that he mixes in his sounds in a very particular way, and I think that's kind of like what's kind of making his sound. And what's cool about that is that he's been kind of isolating himself, so he didn't know not to do it that way, and doing it like that kind of brought out something unique for him.
Sometimes it's really like,
But like that's what's necessary.
Yeah.
Like sometimes. So
I totally get you.
that's
Like
good.
when you're isolated and you're in solitude, it's so important to have both solitude and
Yeah.
social contact.
Yeah, because then you have
It's
an
really-
opportunity to grow in your own way.
Exactly.
So that's good.
And sometimes when you're just surrounded by people, like everybody's filling your head with ideas, like, and sometimes maybe in the first sections you need a little bit of a push
Yes.
technologically to get started to make music, but then I think you should find the ability to enjoy silence and there's a little Depeche
Yeah.
Mode reference for you there.
Yeah, because then you start listening to everybody, and then you end up sounding like oatmeal because I don't know,
Yeah.
nothing's sticking out. You're just everything's looking about the same except for that little lump in the middle.
So one of the struggles that I have from a musical perspective is I find that there's a lot of dynamics missing from my music. I do a lot of I play keyboard into the computer. I use mostly MIDI stuff, but I realize I'm missing out on so much more of the texture and the real instrumentation vibe by not recording direct audio. but I've always been kind of afraid of it because it's like, oh, it's going to be there forever and I can't change it. But that's the whole point. That's the idea, right? Like,
Well, yeah. What I do when doing that kind of thing is I record my tracks MIDI first, if it's a MIDI keyboard. So I'll have the notes there. But if I'm tracking a synth that has MIDI control over all the parameters, I'll arm another track and do a pass recording automation on the filter, then another pass recording automation on maybe envelope attack and release time, things like that, so that the sound will breathe. Even if it's just a pad that's going all the way through the tune, it'll come in and out and it'll float and it'll pan around and it'll do stuff because I've recorded, 5 or 6 tracks of automation through it. That way it's not static. That way it does. And then after you record the audio, you can still go in and automate the volume and the panning and stuff of the audio itself.
so you're meaning like kind of doing the both best of both worlds, having recorded your performance of the MIDI into the computer, but also having it come back out and you can like get the audio to manipulate it after the fact.
Yeah, and that way, later on, if for some reason that track's not working, I've still got the MIDI if I need to redo it.
Yeah. Or swap it out with a VST or something like that.
Swap it out? You mean swap out the VST with an analog synth?
Yeah.
That's typically what I would do.
Okay, well, I stand by the fact that I think that any VST can like get pretty close, like for the most part, because you have like Jean-Michel Jarre. He's like super. He reps the VST game, so it's interesting that I think I'm headed towards more of the analog sector because I've played the Prophet 5 Arturia keyboard and it's just like it sounds so good, but it like wouldn't it just sound insane if it was a real thing? Like I know it would.
Well, for me, what is different is having that physical control and that physical connection with it where I'm playing and I can just reach up and tweak the filter without having to worry about a mouse or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all my controls in front of me, and as I'm playing, I can feel the sound and feel what the sound needs and reach for the knob and make it happen right there without saying, okay, stop. Where's that control? Let me get my mouse and find the parameter. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me, really.
It
And
has
it's
to be a
interesting.
natural evolution
It's
musically.
interesting that you mentioned Jean-Michel Jarre because he was the one who spilled the beans about the 2600 that Korg was
Oh,
releasing.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he spilled the beans a month
Did he get
ahead
like
of
in
time.
trouble for it or what?
He tried to. I think he tried to pass it off as like, oh, he was talking about something else, but no, he was. He
Well,
was
he had
the
to
one that let
edit
it
the
go.
video, right?
Yeah,
He had to have edited it in.
But people had already heard it because I remember that was in December.
Maybe it was a live stream. or
2019, and people were already talking about it on podcasts and
Crazy.
stuff. Yeah.
That's wild. Like, so on the map of recording actual audio, like I'm infatuated with like the way the old things have been made. Kind of, it sometimes the mistakes make the records that you create. Like, there's so much room for just a little bit of like mess up.
Well, of
And-
course, the art is in the imperfections.
Yeah. And I find, one of my favorite synths to actually record the direct audio of, I've done a little bit with the Roland Gaia, and I enjoy that. I usually use it for pads and like sweeps and stuff. But I use the Beanalog a lot as well. And it just has this really like a nice bite to it. And I can get some really like taiko-y kind of sounds out of it actually. Like if you put a ton of reverb on it.
Scott Hansen.
Yeah. He's the real deal, man. Like I got to briefly shake his hand at the show at Tricky Falls when they were still open. I love Tricky Falls. I'm gonna miss it because it's being closed down and becoming a church, which is kind of interesting. But as sort of we need more music venues in El Paso. Honestly, it's a pretty like big deal actually, because I think we're never going to get large acts if like the only big venue we have is the Plaza Theater or Abraham Chavez, and then it's not even going to be Abraham Chavez anymore. It's like the Culture Center. Is that what they're?
Or even the Tumble over there at UTEP.
That's true.
I mean, we do get big acts. It's just that it's not what you are expecting, and it has to do also because of the demographic.
They've
so
managed to have like strange enough building laws to where like somehow bars have gotten to rise up directly next to neighborhoods, and that's like that creates a whole issue where you can't have live music in that venue because like it's directly next to a neighborhood, and there's all kinds of weird building plans that have not been like gone into.
Yeah, 'cause
But
some of it's gonna get cut out.
I would say that a lot of the local art, I think there's more support from like the city has more support on like the street art sort of sector. Like there's a lot of people who are supported like to do like huge murals and things like that, and I think there's a bit of that.
there's money for that.
But
There's money. It's cultural. Is with the cultural.
Our genres are pretty limited here.
But
for
here,
music, though.
for the kind of music that we make, it's not really like the support is not out there, and it's more like a rock, punk.
A lot of punk, a lot of
what's it
hip hop.
called? Well, not really.
not
they're
mu-
also
well-
they're also shrinking. They're also shrinking.
Well, there's a little bit of hip hop. There's like a small hip hop scene.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
pretty
boom bap. It's a boom bap.
there's a
It's not
pretty
even
steady
hip-hop. I don't know. Is that what it
metal
is?
scene, like hardcore metal, like death metal and shred and like I think some grunge rock too. But there's
I mean, we're working on it. Everybody's doing. Everybody's. Without even knowing, everybody think it's segregating themselves into little groups, but it's fine. I think we are all working on being better with the music scene here in El Paso, and I'm really looking forward to the time where everybody is playing together and what's it called? Actually, getting their money, because we can possibly have a healthy scene, and everybody could be doing
that's a very good
growing,
topic.
growing as artists, because that's the important thing. At least that's how I see it, because I'm on the road. I want to grow as an artist, and there's not a lot of support out here. But here at Beanalog, we do support you.
So
but yeah, that's what we do.
In
That's what we do.
in that area, there is some talk that we've had about doing a collaborative show type effort where there's going to be more of a home for electronic music and someplace where people can go to actually listen to it and enjoy it, and having like a Beanalog showcase. So it's not official yet. I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that or not, but
It's not official yet, but we've been talking about it because, we wanted to do a showcase. It's been a bit, and but hopefully we can all get organized the way we got organized for this, and we could get something done. But yeah, the podcast today, it was just the first tryout of the series. We're gonna see how this goes, and Barry and John Luke and Ray
Juan Lucas
and
Tomas.
Leo and myself are here. You have any suggestions for the ones listening? We are welcome to listening to what's it called? Suggestions. Barry, do you wanna talk about sound?
So, analog synths, that's where it's at. So,
That's where it's
okay.
at.
Okay.
That's it. End of the show. That's it.
Go get your wallets.
There's been this rumor going around for years, you said, right, the other day, about there being like a room of vintage synths at UTEP.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I've heard of it too.
Yeah.
I've heard of it several times from other people.
I think you know what, at this point I think that that's BS.
Well,
I
if-
am
They should sell 'em to
thinking,
me.
Yeah,
There
it sounds like
is-
it's BS already.
I would love to get in there and
Yeah,
see
me
what they
too.
have.
Me too.
I mean, I've heard there's an ARP 2600 a vintage that's either working or not. I'm not sure, but I would really like to get in there and see what's going on with that because I have an ARP 2600, so
comparison.
I would be able to tell if something's not working or not.
They have an original. That's what they said.
Yeah,
That's what it says. That's what the legend says. I've
Right.
been listening to this
I
for
always heard
5
that they
years.
were held together with like tape and like chewing gum,
Bubble gum,
because they were
yeah.
like because the
Nobody
the
knew what
build
it
quality on that like deteriorated horribly
You
or
know,
something.
what's interesting is that you always hear these stories, and I'm not saying this is what's happening there, but there are stories that people say, yeah, I bought a mini Moog back in the 80s for $50 because the guy thought it was broken. And all it was that the VCA wasn't turned up or something. You know, the filter was turned down. Things like that. In fact, I think it was Keith Emerson or Rick Wakeman, one of those two, I don't remember which, got his first mini Moog because someone told him that they knew someone who had one and said it was broken. And so he bought it super cheap. And
Back
the
in
guy,
the day, it must have been.
yeah, the guy thought it was broken because it would only play one note at a time. You know, so there's things like
That's
that
terrible.
still out there, and if there are any secret stashes around, I would love to check it out.
Well, I heard recently I was watching, what was it, Centaur?
Yeah.
They have so many good guys. If you're interested in synthesizers,
Yeah,
really good place to start is Centaur. Watching Synth Wizards,
they're in New Braunfels,
it's so cool.
down by San Antonio.
Oh,
But-
really?
Yeah, I'd
And
like to take
so
a trip, road trip.
I was watching the episode where they do the rebuild of the cat, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah,
and like they couldn't find anything on it. Like it was like a total like wild goose chase.
they should ask Behringer. Behringer has I have their version of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, cat. It's a very interesting synth, and it's surprising how close to an ARP Odyssey it is.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was like almost like very close.
Yeah, it's very similar.
operation wise.
Yeah.
But they had like a legal battle back in the day as well too, which I
Well,
was like
there's
surprised
lots
by.
of famous synth legal battles, like the famous battle between ARP and Moog. You know, because ARP had apparently copied Moog's design on the filter.
Yeah, I was about to say
And
filter.
so Moog was telling them, hey, you know, what's up with this? We're going to have to sue you guys. But then ARP turns around and says,
You
oh,
guys
yeah,
suck.
well, what about your circuit you're using in your keyboards? Because apparently Moog had copied ARP in something they're doing. So they just kind of
Do you think that
agreed
was
to-
like, was that ARP's kind of like projecting onto Moog at the time? Because like, were they going under at that point?
No, not
Were
yet.
they trying to
No.
find like little?
No, they weren't
routes?
going. No, this was at the height of their popularity because they ended up
Sorry,
having
ARP,
to
I
change
didn't
the
mean to
filter.
fire shots at you.
Well, they're Korg now, but
Korg is pretty awesome. I'm a Korg fan, honestly.
yeah. They've got the analog thing down pretty good.
Yeah, I want to. I do think I'm eventually going to pick up the Prologue 16 because it just sounds good. Like it's awesome.
Well, if it's
It's-
anything like the Minilog, I mean, Minilog sounds great
Yeah,
for what it is.
I just want more voices on a mini log.
Yeah, yeah.
I should make a mini log with 8 voices and just keep it in the size factor. So, like the legal battles with ARP and Moog, did it only stop at the filter, or was it more like the circuitry and?
As I understand it, it was the stories about it are bigger than the actual happening.
Okay.
That apparently it was somebody got wind of it, you know, and then I read that Bob Moog went to ARP and had a meeting with them, and it was just pretty much oh yeah, you did this, well you guys did this, so they just kind of agreed not to do that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So nobody actually got sued.
That's,
So and ARP changed their filter design and encased it in resin so nobody could see
oh
what
my
they
gosh!
were doing.
Like they blotted it, like with like that nasty ink stuff you see in some of the pedals, like those older ones. So like I love the characters that are involved with the designs of these instruments because they all seem like really like they're almost like cartoon characters.
A lot of them were. They were engineers first, and they weren't businessmen. That's why they all ended up going under. You know,
Yeah.
probably one of the smartest businessmen of all of them was Dave Smith.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
R.I.P.
Wasn't an instrument?
microphone.
Oh.
You're good. You're fine.
Oh.
So, like, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, that I was saying that there wasn't an instrument with Dave Smith, like inspired by Dave Smith. I don't remember. I thought I said it yesterday. What was it? I don't remember.
Was it Oberheim stuff?
I don't.
Because Oberheim was helped out by Dave Smith.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Like, what an amazing story!
I just
Yeah.
saw
Like, to
the.
resurrect both of them resurrected some of the greatest synthesizers of all time, and like, it seems impossible if you were to think about it like before it happened. You know what I mean? Like, would you say that Dave Smith would reacquire his company and start building profits
that
again?
was pretty much a gift.
Yeah.
You know, that was, I think, was it Yamaha that owned Sequential
Oh,
Name?
really?
I think it was, and who was
Imagine
it?
if
I think
Yamaha
it was.
had kept it.
Well, it's interesting because I think it was Roland, their president or somebody was retiring or something, and he thought it would be a good idea, so he called up, you know, the president of Yamaha and said, you know what, you're not doing anything with it, you should give it back, and so they gave it back to him. You know,
It's
that's pretty
bizarre
cool.
to me that Yamaha has not stepped into the synthesizer field.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Well-
they have the
They
CS
know,
Reface.
they know,
The
they
CS
know.
Reface is a fantastic keyboard.
Yeah, but they know better to stick on their because they do so.
Their
they do so-
workstations are amazing.
They do so good with whatever they do already, like if you're getting something from Yamaha, either speakers or the mixer or whatever, it's very solid.
But
I never
they
ha- I
cover
don't-
a
I
lot
don't-
of ground. I guess it's just because they don't have
And motorcycles.
they don't have a development field for synthesizers.
Well,
as
probably
much.
their synth arm, their synth
Yeah.
wing, whatever you want to call it, is minuscule compared to the rest of the stuff that they do. So it's a very teeny tiny
Which
part
would,
of what they
I
do.
think, make it very successful. Because usually when those
Probably
little
so.
guys decide to do something,
Yeah,
and they
but
have a
it
little bit
would
of
be like a
backing.
tiny chunk of their overall cheese, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So
they should just start making like little mini like CS minis, and like everybody buys them.
That's what the
and it's like the
Reface is.
Volca. It's like the Volca line of the Yamahas, and
Yeah.
like I think it would blow up.
Well, I remember reading somewhere that Korg was teeny tiny compared to like Roland or Yamaha.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Korg is doing what they're doing, and we love what they do because they're so small. They don't have all these other things.
It's the
that they're doing.
underdog story.
Of course.
Everybody likes the
Yeah.
Well, they're
underdog story.
focused.
Isn't it the underdog Behringer?
Pretty, well,
Wouldn't it be
Behringer's
Behringer?
like
it's kind of like if Elon Musk decided to
To
start
make the
building
synthesizer.
synthesizers. Uli Behringer is
No.
like he's he's crazy. Like I don't know where he gets the gall to like just straight up like be like that, but I'm totally cool with it because he comes out with amazing stuff, and it's all because of his
That wasn't
passion.
always the case,
It's his
though.
passion for synthesizers because that's
yeah.
what he wanted to go originally. As far as
I remember years
aware.
ago he was posting on when it was Gear Sluts. He was posting on there talking about how that's what he wanted to do, and he says, "Just watch, guys. I'm gonna bring out all these vintage things you've always wanted," and people were really ridiculing him, saying, "You're not gonna do that."
Well, they
What a
still do.
dream.
They still do.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
if
I
you
know they
think-
still
Yeah,
do,
they
but
still do.
at that time, you know, he already had the resources to do it, and people were still telling him that he couldn't do it or wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
And it's interesting because Behringer is tied and supported by what is it, Music Tribe?
Yeah.
So
well, that's their overall.
That's their overall thing.
Yeah, that's their.
But they got TC Electronic
Yeah.
like right in there,
Yeah.
and they can take those effects and apply them into the synthesizers, and it sounds good, and they have a lot of flexibility in there.
And Gear Sluts is not longer Gear Sluts.
It's
Not
Gear
what it's
Space.
called. It's called Gear Space.
It's a friendly change of
Yeah.
tasteful.
So yeah, they changed their name about 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So gearspace.com if you wanna find anything about.
If you want to go get mad or praise Uli Behringer.
Oh man, if you go into a Moog forum and you start talking about Behringer stuff, it's like it literally they'll treat you like you're a troll
You
or
know,
something.
it's strange that there's such an elitism about that because, I mean, I have some of the best Moog stuff they make, but the Behringer stuff is also just as good. And I don't see how anybody could be elitist against that because it's all musical instruments that sound amazing.
It's
we
inspiring.
We even see it on the modular. What's it called? people. They
yeah.
also do that.
Yeah.
I
You know?
believe that Behringer
It-
was sent by God
They came to
to
recreate.
send us synthesizers and cheap mixers so we can
Well,
survive and thrive in music. I think their interfaces are pretty cool too, actually. I've been considering picking up one of those, the 4, like the 18i8 copy kind of. Because I think it's a little more portable. It's got, I don't know if it has ADAT, but it has pretty decent preamps, I think, and you can kind of get by with it. It's like a good double backup. Do you guys swear by any particular interface on that topic?
Well, I really love the Universal Audio Apollos. That's what I use. I had, before that, I used, I can't remember now. What's it called?
Apogee?
Yeah, Apogee.
Yeah.
I had Apogee before that. I had a duet and I had a quartet. And I was looking at their higher end interface. But I have a bunch of UA Apollo or a bunch of UA plugins.
Yeah.
I've had those ever since like probably about 20 years ago when I first got my UA accelerator card. And their plugins are great. And since Apollo runs them, on the interface itself, I just
Those
really
kinda
like
blow my
the
mind.
flexibility, the way you can use it. You can use it like you have a hardware mixer and you have hardware plugged into it before it even gets to your DAW
It's like
tracks.
super powered VSTs. But
Yeah.
they're not even like VSTs at that point. They're like literally
No, they're-
the
they're-
analog circuitry is modeled.
They're running within the interface itself before it gets to your tracks. So you can record with those or just use it for monitoring.
I think for just a
No
preamp
latency.
alone.
Yeah.
Like just for like mic style preamps, or like if you're using like a Neve
Yeah.
or something like that, it's gonna just warm up the sound before it even gets into the song.
Well, what's interesting about those is that they have the unison technology, which allows their plug-in to actually change the impedance physically of the mic pre as your mic is going through it. So it
Wow.
changes that to match whatever plug-in it's modeling.
That's
the Neve or
interesting.
API or whatever.
Like
So-
I'm normally kind of a I'm not a minimalist, but I like to get things that are really simple and like laid back, and Focusrite is definitely my kind of jam, honestly. Like we're using one right now to record into,
Yeah.
and I have an 18i8, and it's the old one, and I actually like the software on the older ones more than I like the newer software, because it's really simple. It's like doesn't even have anything written on it. Like, do you use any kind of particular interfaces?
Louis.
Yoy. No? Yes?
Oh, me.
I thought Luisa was just talking.
I just use the one on the machine because I have a machine. I'm like very budgeted, but I do have like a machine MK3.
Okay.
And when I bought that thing, I kept that in mind. And the thing is like really easy to use. The only thing is that you can't plug more than one thing in because it only has like one input for the I/O on the back of it. But the way to get around that is just getting like a mixer, and I just got a little Behringer mixer with like I don't even remember. It was like 3 ins and then an out, and just route it back in.
That's interesting. There's like a weird set of hardware audio equipment that like has interfaces where it's like, because like I have the Roland Gaia, right, and it also says that it acts as the audio interface, so it will just put the audio directly through the USB port, which is like, okay, like that's interesting. Yeah, it's like I would never use it, but
Yeah. Sorry.
Some of those things can be difficult to work with because if you already have an audio interface and your keyboard or drum
start
machine or whatever,
glitching out.
well, it's like, which one do you choose if you're on a PC? You have to specify which interface you can't. There may be a way to combine them on PCs, I'm not sure, but on Mac you can pretty easy. It's called aggregating.
Oh,
But still, when you do that,
that sounds nice.
yeah, it is
Like
very
imagine
nice.
just
Yeah.
having like a fleet of like I solos from from Focusrite. And you just only use those, but you have like 30 of them.
Yeah, but I like the way Electron does their audio over USB, because rather than having it be a separate audio device that your computer sees, it actually interfaces with the plug-in. So rather than aggregating, the audio device, you just keep your system set up as it is, and you insert their Electron plug-in, which accesses the audio from the hardware
Yeah.
into that track directly.
Electron
pretty
is an
cool.
extremely divisive.
They're really
Like,
cool. I really
everybody
like them.
has a different opinion on Electron,
They're amazing.
and I look at it and I start becoming filled with hatred.
Well, there's one right behind you,
I
actually.
know, it's like stalking me. breathing
Yes.
down my neck.
That's-
I got to
sitting
try
there
it
very
out.
That's
ominously.
Ray's Octatrack.
I got to try it out, and I was able to make like a couple of noises. Actually, I think the Octatrack is better. The Octatrack is a little better than the other ones.
There's a little click when you turn it on and off.
Oh yeah.
It's
But
a
like,
chameleon.
if I have to
That's pretty cool.
struggle to get
The
noise out of it, I'm
Octatrack
like,
is a chameleon. It can be a drum machine. It can be a mixer, an effects processor. It can be all
That's
kinds
crazy.
of things. It's got MIDI tracks. I really like it.
I love that
Really
thing.
like it a lot.
I love that.
I
thing.
think if I learned how to use it better, I'd probably be really into it. But I really love the SP 2400. That thing
Oh yeah.
is
yeah.
so lush.
It no longer
and
has the
cool.
P. It's just S2400.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they dropped the P just
Why?
before they released it.
I'm gonna miss that.
I don't know.
I was gonna make a joke, but
Well, speaking on interfaces, I really miss my old M Audio Firewire Solo.
right.
It was a single input, and I got like 3 records out of that thing. And I don't know, it was just
M Audio makes really good stuff.
M Audio
Cheap but good.
Reason 2.0 or some shit like that, and it was great.
It's weird. Like I think the Axiom, the M Audio Axiom MIDI controller, like supports polyphonic aftertouch in the MIDI,
Oh yeah.
and not a lot of MIDI controllers have polyphonic aftertouch. Like that's an interesting topic right there. It's just like all aftertouch stuff.
Yeah,
Because
I had an Axiom semi-weighted, and I really liked it, and I got rid of it for no reason at all.
And now you have that.
And I miss it.
I see people use those. What
You-
is that one called?
You know what? Yeah, it's the Panorama P4, and
Panorama.
it's just for reason.
It looks
it's-
Italian.
It does have a very Italo.
It's
It's
got
like
these-
wow.
It's got these windows that are
Giorgio Moroder probably has one.
that are specific to the instruments in Reason, and but part of me kind of is mad at it because of the pads. They don't fit the setup of the Kong, and I just don't understand that. Why would you make
Yeah.
why would you make something specific to Reason and then you like don't dunk it on the pads?
Because
like,
they're hardware guys. We're using Ableton Live.
Okay,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I may be totally in the wrong for saying this, and it might just be out of pure ignorance, but I don't believe pads should be on a keyboard. I think they should have a separate module that's a pad so that you could just have it on a separate MIDI channel. Like
I will-
it bothers me.
Well, it's a MIDI controller with keys. Yeah.
This is recorded. I'm gonna remind you about that when you're telling me about a
Oh, yeah.
new machine.
Yeah, because
The NPC keyboard.
Yes,
Oh, the
yes.
MPC keys looks pretty cool, actually. But like that one, I think is going to be the only exception because it actually is mapped out correctly. Because like when you get one of those keyboards, you get it home and you're like, you hit it, and it's like, oh, this doesn't even do it what I want it to do, and you got to program it, and it's like I don't want to program it,
Well,
so I'm
that's,
just gonna.
that's kind of the caveat with any of these controllers that you get, because you get it and you plug it in and it's like, oh, now I've got to do all this programming. I got to do all this setup before I can do what I want to do. And they try to make them so that's not that big of an issue. But
That's
a
why
lot
I
of
like
times,
Arturia's stuff because it's like it's ready to go.
they're-
Kind of.
It's ready to go with Arturia stuff. See, that's the thing. You know, like I have the NI Complete Control, which is
That's
great.
cool.
It's
I
a
like
really
that
nice
one.
feeling keyboard, and it works great with the NI stuff.
Do you have an
but,
88 or?
No, I have a 61. Because at the time when I got it, it was a Mark II. They didn't have the 88 out yet.
Ooh.
But yeah, see, that's
Now you gotta get the 88.
that
though.
again goes back to my issue with trying to use software, because even if I have a nice controller with the controls mapped out, there still feels like a little bit of a disconnect when
Mhm.
I'm trying to be creative. It's like controlling a remote control car versus being behind the wheel. You know, it feels, that's the kind of difference it is.
I think it depends on the kind of sorry, my microphone cable was being kind of weird. Okay, so like there's kind of a weird like depending on the workflow that you're using. Like if I want to compose like a symphonic thing and like just jump in with NI controller with like all those cool string instruments and stuff like that, that's fine. It'd be fantastic. But you're trying to set up a live show and you don't have the ability to like change all the parameters on the fly. It would drive me crazy. I like sort of where Behringer is going, where you have like these things that you can really get your hands on, and the Poly D is one of the coolest things for me because I've always been a huge Mini Moog fan, like from day one. When
Mini
I started
Moog.
learning. Mini Moog.
You're not British.
I'm in the right. I'm in the right. I can say Moog because they said it one time in their actual official thing.
But BAwB himself said no.
He said,
it's like Moog.
but the
like
publisher said
Moog. Yeah, the
that
publisher's
both
wrong.
are okay because they're actually in America it's Moog, but outside of America it's Moog apparently. I want to get my hands on the Poly D. Like I just wish they would add patch memory. I'm annoying everybody about that all the time. I'm like, why?
Well, I can tell you why. Because patch memory is not in character for the Mini Moog. That's not a Mini Moog thing. You know,
It should be on everything though.
it-
Just needs to be on
Patch
everything.
memory-
The Beanalog has it. Why doesn't the Poly D have it?
when I had my Voyager, it had patch memory, but I never used the patch memory except when I wanted to save something in as a work in progress.
Yeah.
And probably 99% of the time, when I would use it for something, I would initialize the patch and start from scratch and build the sound from there.
If it had patch, like all the dials would be wrong when you look at it.
Well, technically, yeah.
Yeah, but you
that's
can
just
move
a
it
general.
to-
Yeah,
yeah.
eventually.
That's
you
a
get
general
there,
thing
but
that's going to be on any synthesizer. So if you
Unless
use like
you
a
get that
rolling
new one
Gaia,
with the motorized knobs.
that's going to break. That will break eventually.
Yeah.
And then everybody's going to be really sad. Oh, I've spent so much money on this synthesizer and like the thing doesn't even work.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of motorized stuff. I just think that's really over the top.
You know, it's interesting, the idea about patches, because like on my Matriarch, there's no patch memory. You know, it's, whatever you patch,
Beautiful
that's what it is. But on the Moog 1, that's patches galore. And I can't imagine it not with patches,
Yeah.
because it's so complex. There's no way you get through much without having patches.
I love like the Blade Runner sounds on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can play Blade Runner on just about any synth. If it's a good synth, it can do Blade Runner.
Well, as long as you put lots of reverb, you got it.
Yeah. The I just think that the Poly D, for what it is, for it to be like a solid performance synth,
Mhm.
like on stage and a real companion, just needs patch memory. That's
Yeah.
it. It doesn't need anything else. It's got the chorus.
But it's
Maybe delay.
It's as much a stage performance keyboard as the Mini Moog was, pretty much.
Yeah. But then Rick Wakeman, he had like 3 of them on stage. So
Yeah.
it
3
kind of,
Poly Ds.
that was his presets.
Yeah.
He's just like, I had this one, and this one. They're just like,
Well, if you really want to emulate that, just get the Model D,
yeah.
and you can get 3 of them for
Oh,
not much
for
more.
super
than
cheap. You could probably
yeah.
find them for $100 somewhere.
Yeah. So there's
I
your.
would like to
there's
get
your
one.
patches.
Just for bass. But you know what? I was observing my setup and how that's going to happen, and I will have a Poly D eventually. But the one that really got me was the Grandmother
Oh yeah.
clone. Oh man, like I played the Grandmother, the actual Moog Grandmother, and I was like, well, I just wish it was smaller. Like, and they literally just made it smaller from Behringer. and it's really tempting. It's perfect.
Doesn't the grandmother have the reverb?
Yeah, spring reverb.
And so does the little one have the reverb?
I think it
Yes, it
has a digital emulation of it.
But I think what they did
Yeah.
is they did the impulse response of the actual one. I bet you they did. They probably got the spring impulse response of the same one.
But
'cause
can
it
you
sounds very
can you
similar.
slap it and get the thunder?
Maybe there's a sensor in it and you just does a fake one. Bing. Is that necessary?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yes.
That's how you know it's quality.
Yeah, you got to have the. It's
you
got.
smack it and it makes
If it doesn't slap,
little
it don't
noise.
slap.
If it don't jiggle.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Oh man, that's gonna be stuck in my head now. All right, guys. I don't know what else we got.
Well, we went over our 15 minutes, I'm sure. So
I think it was good that we did go over. We were only recording for. We only wanted to do 15 minutes. Or
I think we could add stories. I have some stories.
I think we could keep
I'm sure you
going
do.
because I'm here
'Cause-
just chilling.
Because, like, I'm listening, and then I like that.
I thought we were gonna go to like nine.
I guess
or
we have
something.
topics,
Oh,
but then we
actually-
keep breaking off topic.
I'm gonna have to leave in a little bit because I gotta go pick up my son.
Oh, okay. That's totally cool. We can pick it up all together.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I heard that Barry was playing on when he had his Buchla system, and he was playing with the back part, and he started tripping on acid. And I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit more about that.
That wasn't me.
Are you sure? Because I heard Barry Anderson.
I did not have
Electronic music
did
and
not have a
acid
red
seem to
panel.
go pretty hand in hand, Barry. I don't know.
I did not have a red panel.
Oh, okay.
That's
No,
the one with the
I think
acid.
that was like a story of an engineer actually.
Yeah.
All right.
That was repairing the like old
a 200 series module.
yeah. But he went in there and there's like LSD dust on everything, and it was like he touched it and it just absorbed into his skin instantly, and he just started tripping balls.
Well, that's where the story. Well, before that,
Yeah.
the story is that they did make a few special red colored modules for certain customers that actually did have some LSD laced into the panel.
That's
for
interesting.
A little bit of extra.
Was that like a creative choice or?
Yeah. This is
Because
back
I know
in the
like
70s.
like if you open up a Dave Smith board, on some of them you can see like cool little patterns and things like they wrote.
Well, a
on there.
lot of things. A lot of
Secrets.
modular modules. You open it up and you look at the PCB, and there'll be messages. There'll be all kinds of
There's like a
things.
Pikachu in there or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of little Easter eggs.
Well, even Justin, if
Yeah.
you look at his
On
PCBs, he's got
pedals,
something
too.
on.
Guitar
I'm
pedals.
like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that would not be fun for me. I honestly just have like a very spiritual experience after repairing your Buchla.
Well,
Like,
especially
not
if it's
knowing-
not expected.
Well, I mean, some people, if you're going to open up a Buchla, you should be prepared for it.
Well, a vintage 70s Buchla maybe.
Yeah. Because, it's a thing. It's not my thing, but it's somebody's thing.
Well, you got to understand also that during that time, when Buchla was in their heyday, I guess, in the late 60s, early 70s, they were in California, around Berkeley, during the time when experimentation was the thing you do there. You know,
yeah.
and Don Buchla was hobnobbing with the Grateful Dead and a bunch of people who were into the alternate lifestyles.
This is getting pretty Joe Rogan-y, actually. I'm enjoying this. I
Dropping
feel like
acid
I'm on.
was like twerking.
Yeah, whereas Bob Moog on the other coast, was Mr. Suit and Tie. He was still hobnobbing with famous musicians, but so he could sell them synthesizers.
He had class, you know what I mean? He was just
Yeah.
like chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fascinating how drugs have affected music. It's for certain people it might be like a interesting argument there, but like I think overall having your perspective shifted by something, whether it's like coffee or LSD, not exactly comparable, but everybody gets something that inspires them, and I personally wouldn't be dropping acid to make music because I feel like I wouldn't make music. I'd probably be in outer space.
Yeah.
I will say, after a good cup of coffee, I make beats better.
You know what? I feel
gets
that.
That gets me like really, how you say, motivated, like real quick.
That's the bean in Beanalog.
Yeah.
Because I have an espresso machine I've just set up in my house, and it's fantastic. I love it.
It makes
It's a
cool sounds.
wonderful gift. Actually, it does, and I'm going to record it in stereo.
Yeah.
That should happen.
I just gotta curate.
Yeah, we'll sample it. We'll just sample random like clicks and pops of the espresso machine, even though it's like a really cheap one. It's like
Make a drum kit.
like just really squeaky everywhere. But if you go to like, what if we went to like, that would be an interesting like little field trip.
And then
If all of us kind of go and we just like try to sample a bunch of stuff, we challenge ourselves, and like I'll go to like 210 Coffee and I'll be like, hey guys, this sounds really weird, but I'm gonna record your espresso machine. Is that
Yes.
cool? And they're like,
The big old
yes.
And then,
cooker.
and then you record their coffee sips,
Mhm.
and then yes, and then yeah.
And then you record their brain waves of their minds changing by the altering of the caffeine.
Yes.
Are we getting off topic?
I don't know. There's caffeine involved, so
I think
it's all about drugs, anyways.
you're on the right path.
Yeah. So, yeah. A little bit of awkward silence.
So I like the topics thing, like what do you call it? The stories, and then you guys were talking about I don't know, just I guess preferences and I don't know.
Synthesizers are
Yeah,
great.
I think topics is necessary. Sorry. I think topics are necessary.
Just so you know, everybody, he's talking into an actual set of headphones, like DJ style, right now.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty okay.
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. It sounds good up here, and then it sounds kind of like
Muffled.
like a
Nasally.
tin over here.
Yeah.
But right here, it's like, damn, I got you, girl.
What were you
Kinda
saying
rattly.
about earlier about, you were saying something about synthesizers or like particularly,
I don't know.
what was sounding interesting?
What was sounding interesting?
Yes. So
I forgot. I don't know.
to me, what's interesting is trying to figure out what sounds that I can't live without in a hardware format. And I've been kind of on that path, and me and Barry have like talked constantly about it. Like, and I've been really, I think everything has led to this one point, and I think I'm just going to go for the Summit, the Novation Summit, because it can do everything pretty good. And then it has the diverge and drift functions, which instantly makes it sound kind of like the Prologue, to be honest. So it can get that, because it does it directly to the oscillator, so that it can, like, it just makes it sound good. It's like the vintage knob on the Prophets.
You know what? The thing I was gonna say earlier was when you were talking about your VSTs and like apps with
Yeah.
with synthesizers. I think there's a way like so Barry would say that they sound great, but there's not
There's something missing.
There's something missing, like it's not flawless.
It's kind of
But-
like if you cloned a human,
Yeah.
and it's like, does it have a soul? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Right.
but at the same time, I would say that those, they're still valid, because I think there's still an opportunity for you to put in your humanity into things. Like, when we have,
Yes.
when I have the 1BM idea is because I have a synthesizer attached to this mixer that's not necessarily doing exactly what I want it to do, because the mute button is a little sticky, and the pot on the low end is a little crackly.
Yeah.
And so when I'm hitting it, like the when I hit the mute, like I'm killing out the percussion, and then when I want to bring it back, the mute kind of like it's like molasses, and it slowly is like oozing out of itself, and then it just kind of comes out on its own, and it kind of sounds good. And so Yeah, I mean, I think
You wouldn't get that with a VST.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't get it with the VST, but if you had the VST and then you layered it with that thing that just, you know, you have no control over, and you just gotta like feel it out and adjust your mind to it and then bring it in. Oh damn. You see? There you go. And then but I mean, yeah, that's what I wanted to say when you were bringing up those things.
I think that VSTs are incredible. Like the fact that we can have 20 of the original classic, like vintage synthesizers from the 80s and all these different eras inside of your computer, it's like literal witchcraft.
Well,
it's crazy.
I mean, I think that's cool. But like I might have maybe like 10, 15 cents right in front of me and I'm playing with none of them.
Yeah.
Like, so like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't think collecting VSTs is like me personally, I don't think it's like any kind of goal. Like
I'm
I
addicted
think
to sounds.
just
And
yeah.
like the sound of the Mini Moog is, there's some things that I could actually probably live with just the Mini Moog, like inside of my computer, because I can get like the sounds that I can get Juno-y sounds out of it. I can get a lot of like, it's very flexible in a polyphonic format. So it just depends on the kind of sounds that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes Arturia isn't the way. Sometimes it's Cherry Audio, or sometimes it's even Soft Tubes plugins.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be a $5 synth or $500 synth.
And the fun thing about it is that you have it on your hands. Like, I think sometimes when I'm trying to get creative and I'm trying to connect everything, I just kind of lose my inspiration. You know, by the time I'm already, what's it called, ready to go,
Yeah.
I'm already tired. But I'm pretty sure that if I had everything, well, sometimes I do. That's why I work on Reason. That's why I work on Reason sometimes.
I think VSTs are sometimes boohooed
Because
a lot
it's the same thing.
because
Almost the same thing.
there's
Almost.
a lot of creative potential there, because it's instantaneous and you have a lot of like ability to just jump in and start writing music instantly with presets. Guys, that was the Beanalog podcast, and hopefully we'll be back for an episode 2. And it is raining.